Okay. Okay, today I'm reviewing Agatha Christie's book, The Big Four. And The Big Four is kind of a cross between a Poirot novel and an espionage novel. Now, this book it's not as strong as her other books, but we have to cut her some slack because at the time she was writing this, Agatha Christie's marriage was falling apart, and she was she disappeared for 11 days. So, but as a result, sales of this book were huge. So people really liked it, and the book. It deals, basically it's 12 short stories that had been serialized in a magazine, and they're kind of strung together into, and I'd say an episodic kind of novel, and they work together pretty well, actually, I think, anyway. And the premise is that there is this cartel of international spies. One is a Chinese man, or a Chinaman as they refer to him, and a French woman, an American industrialist, and a British actor who's called the Destroyer. And he's the most enigmatic character. We see the most of him, but we don't know we see the most of him because he's such a good actor. He assumes different shapes, sort of like Mr. Brown in The Secret Adversary. So this is another story that really relies on disguises. Two other important characters come out. One character named Achille Poirot, and Achille, as you might guess, is Poirot's, or at least Poirot says, his brother. And Achille, of course, is the name for Achilles, just like Hercule is short for Hercules, so classical names for these two. And we also encounter Countess Vera Rosikoff, who is going to be a recurring character who Poirot kind of has a crush on. We'll see her in a couple other stories, I believe. And she's a very interesting character. Okay, and one of the things that comes up again in this story is racism, and in this case it's primarily directed against the Chinese, who are seen always with a long ponytail. Their accent is parodied in the way she writes it, so when they say a word like the word very, it's spelled V-E-L-L-Y, veli. And but I really think here that she is poking fun at the British perception of the Chinese, and of course the Chinese always being the bad guy. Because at one point there is a Chinese character who we're supposed to assume is the bad guy. And certainly Hastings, who has returned from Argentina to help Poirot, certainly Hastings believes that this guy is a bad guy, and Poirot's the only one who trusts him. So maybe because Poirot himself is a foreigner to England, he is less likely to just assume that any foreigner should not be trusted. And let's see, the other thing is that this story takes us throughout Europe. Most of the stories take place in England, but some in France. There's part in Belgium, where Poirot comes from. And the final portion of the story takes place in Italy, at a resort area. These stories are pretty lighthearted, but they do have a maturity that the older Poirot short stories don't have. There's a little bit more at stake. I don't know if that has to do with Christie's maturing as a writer, or the difficulties that she might have been going through, but I think it's not one of her best efforts. Let me just say that. I would have to give this story probably about 3.2 2.5, I'm going to say. It's a fun read. It's interesting. And it's nice to see Hastings back again. He leaves his wife down in Argentina for almost a year by the time this story is over, so she must be pretty long-suffering. But it is good to see them together again, especially after seeing the difference with Dr. Shepard, who was Poirot's sidekick in The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Okay, the next book I'm going to read is called The Mystery of the Blue Train. And I have another edition of this one that's one of those Agatha Christie facsimile editions. Let me grab it for you. Poirot's Mystery of the Blue Train, Agatha Christie. There's Poirot on the side there. And the back, he's here again. That was Poirot on the side, and he's back on the back cover too. These are excellent editions that I highly recommend. And we'll talk to you next time.